This is not a conspiracy video, as awesome as they can be. Hello and welcome back, class. 4 American presidents have been assassinated while in office, all within 100 years, starting with Lincoln, our 16th president. Then there was James Garfield in 1881, William McKinley in 1901, and of course JFK in 1963. Very soon I have planned on doing more in-depth videos on the assassinations of Garfield and McKinley, and Lincoln by himself. Could be a whole entire series. I do have an anniversary of the assassination of JFK video that I will link here for you to check out. However, today's video will specifically talk about all the weird coincidences between the assassination and presidency life of Abraham Lincoln and that of JFK, John Fitzgerald Kennedy. This is not a conspiracy video, just to let you know. I love a good conspiracy. Maybe someday I'll do a video on that, but this is not that. But this is just an amazing amount of facts that are too similar to ignore. All of us have seen the memes and the posts about this going around for years. In fact, that started less than a year after JFK's death. Obviously, not on the internet, but published in Time magazine. So, I am going to stick to facts that I can find through reliable sources, and more than just one. Here are some things that are accurate, if a little bit odd, or strange, or just interesting. Number 1. Lincoln was elected to Congress in 1846, and then to the presidency in 1860. JFK was elected to Congress in 1938, and then the presidency in 1960. Exactly 100 years apart. Now, federal elections are only happening in even years, so that's not a huge coincidence, or out of the realm of possibility, but it's there. Number 2. Both lost a child while in office. Lincoln's son, Willie, died of what they think to be typhoid fever in the White House in 1862 at the age of 11. Kennedy's son, Patrick, lived only 2 days after being born. He was born prematurely in 1963. Both had also lost children before becoming president. Lincoln's son, Eddie, died shortly before his 4th birthday in 1850. And Kennedy's wife, Jackie, had possibly 2 or 3 miscarriages before JFK took office. Number 3. Both presidents were shot on a Friday. Now, there is a 1 in 7 chance in that probability, but this time it is true. They're both shot on a Friday. And while sitting next to their wives. Number 4. Both were shot in the head. Although Lincoln's assassin only shot once, nearly a few feet away from him, basically point blank, and Kennedy's assassin shot 3 times, from a much farther distance. Although both presidents were sitting when shot, that is true. Lincoln was sitting in a theater, and Kennedy in a slow-moving vehicle with no top. Number 5. Both presidents were succeeded by Southern Johnsons. Yes, they absolutely were. Now, both Lincoln and JFK were from the North, and having a Southern politician on the ballot was extremely helpful in getting them elected in the first place. Remember, Lincoln was elected right before the Civil War. And having Johnson on the ticket with him was how he got elected. Partially, at least. Although it did not prevent the states from seceding from the Union after he won. Kennedy was elected during the Civil Rights Movement 100 years later, and Johnson was from Texas and could balance out the ticket. However, they were both named Johnson and from the South, along with JFK and Lincoln being from the North. That is a coincidence, there's no doubt about it. Even if Johnson is an incredibly common last name, especially back in the 1800s. Son of John. Number 6. A bit more of a coincidence is the fact that Andrew Johnson was born in 1808 and Lyndon Johnson was born in 1908. Number 7. Both assassins' names have 15 letters. This one is a bit silly. I mean, there's John Wilkes Booth and Lee Harvey Oswald, and both do have 15 letters in their name. But I, for one, think that although John Wilkes Booth may have gone around introducing himself with all 3 names, because he was a famous actor at the time, I do not think Lee Harvey Oswald went around introducing himself as Lee Harvey Oswald. It's probably just, hi, I'm Lee, if anything at all. I think that we may have decided to include all 3 names for Lee Harvey Oswald, as historically, we sort of do that with a lot of villains. I mean, think of all the serial killers known with all 3 names. This one's a little bit. Number 8. Since we are talking about letters in names, Lincoln and Kennedy have 7 letters each. But, yeah. Okay then, let's move on. Number 9. This next one is a little creepy. Lincoln was assassinated in Ford's Theater. JFK was assassinated in a Ford 4-door convertible. Number 10. Both assassins were killed before they could go on trial. This is not entirely surprising, as given to the chaos that was surrounding these horrific events. People were upset, and emotions were high. Booth was trapped in a barn that was set on fire, and he was shot by a soldier. This happened after a 12-day manhunt. Oswald was shockingly shot on television by Jack Ruby, a nightclub owner, who claimed to be so overwhelmed with grief from the president's death. This was while in police custody, 2 days after the assassination. Number 11. Now, this one is a bit of a stretch, but depending on how you define warehouse or barn, you may buy into this. Booth shot Lincoln and then ran and was eventually found in a barn. Oswald shot Kennedy from a warehouse and then ran and was found in a theater. Now, one was a movie theater and one was an in-person act of both theaters. And barn is used to store things. Warehouse is used to store things. Barn and warehouse similar enough? I think so. One major difference is Booth was shot when found, and Oswald was taken alive. Number 12. Both Lincoln and Kennedy were concerned with civil rights issues, but both were dealing with civil rights issues at the time of their presidencies. That they were dealing with issues their office had to deal with at the time. It would be like saying FDR was primarily concerned with war. Well, he had to be because of World War II. I would like to tell people that we need to learn our history because it repeats itself. These may just be a few coincidences, but there is definitely some repetition, if only in trivial data. Keep in mind, both McKinley and Garfield were shot with a gun by a lone gunman, just like Lincoln and Kennedy. 3 out of 4, Garfield, McKinley, and Lincoln, were shot at point-blank range. Do I think there's some great big conspiracy with Lincoln and Kennedy's assassinations? Of course not. There are some interesting coincidences between the two, and they are probably our most well-known presidents, along with Washington and FDR. Who, by the way, survived an assassination attempt in 1933. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you found this interesting. Don't forget to click like, subscribe, and as always, keep on learning.